Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Show. Once again, big thank you to Jared for being a guest reader on the show last week. He done a fantastic job. This week, we're just going to go straight into it. This is my favourite Christmas story I've ever written. This is probably one of my favourite stories I've ever written. And I don't want to delay, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the Midnight Show. A bag full of ashes. Johann sat in the armchair beside the fire. The flames danced around the logs, their glows merging with the Christmas tree lights to illuminate the room. Wind slammed snow hard against the house. Johann raised a glass of whiskey. The flames danced inside it, and the fairy lights twinkled as the brown liquid played with his senses. He lowered the glass and stared at the flames. There was something soothing about them. Johann hated this time of year. It brought back memories, ones he could never forget. Memories that stayed vivid in his mind. His family was asleep upstairs. He'd said his goodbyes when he tucked them in. He didn't say anything to his wife. This was his fault, not hers, and he didn't wish this on her or the children. Tonight it would end. It was Christmas Eve of '86. Johann was 10. After their parents had tucked him in, Daniel, his elder brother, snuck across to his bed. "Johann, we're going to play a trick on Rose tonight," Daniel sniggered. "After Mom and Dad go to bed, we'll sneak down, go outside, and fill a bag full of ashes and place them in Rose's spot in the sitting room." "No way!" "Why not?" "I don't want to." "Johann, you're going to help me." "No, I'm not. That's mean, Daniel." Daniel gripped his arm. "You're going to help me." Johann had no choice but to give in to his brother's superior strength. He knew the consequences if he didn't. Fine. Daniel released him and walked back over to his bed. Johann wasn't happy. Rose was 3 years younger, and he hated it when Daniel played tricks on her. A few hours later, Johann was roused out of his sleep. Daniel was shaking him. "Come on, it's time," he said, excited. Johann dragged himself out of bed and followed Daniel over to the door. The handle turned quietly, and he stepped out onto the landing. "Daniel, I don't like this," Johann said, finally waking up. "Shh!" Daniel motioned for him to follow. Their descent was quiet, their bare feet soundless on the tiles in the hall through to the kitchen. At the back door they pulled on their coats and boots. Johann reached up and switched on the outside light. "What are you doing?" Daniel quickly switched it off. "Do you want us to get caught?" Johann just looked at him. Secretly, he hoped that one of his parents had seen it. "Get a bag." Johann rummaged through the presses as Daniel opened the door and stepped outside. The cold air rushed upon him and Johann shivered. Getting the bag, he hurried out to Daniel. He wanted to get this over with. Snow was falling outside, and it crunched softly under his boots. Daniel was over at the old metal bin their father used to disperse the ashes. "Hurry up!" Instructing Johann to hold the bag open, his brother shoveled the ashes inside. Daniel was giggling, and Johann wished he could hit him with the shovel. "Okay, that's enough. Let's go." Daniel put the lid back on the bin. He hurried back into the house through the falling snow and left Johann to carry the heavy bag on his own. When he got inside, Daniel had already taken off his coat and boots. "Give me that slow coach." He took the bag and headed for the sitting room. Johann closed the door and removed his garments before following him. Daniel had switched on the Christmas tree lights and was positioning the bag to the left of the fireplace. Rose's presents from Santa were always left in that spot. "Daniel, don't do this," Johann protested. "Shut up. Go and wake Rose up. Tell her Santa was here." "No, I'm not doing it." Furious, Daniel walked toward him. Johann stood his ground, and his brother punched his arm and pushed him onto the sofa. "Wuss." Daniel sneaked upstairs. Silently, he entered Rose's room and made his way over to her bed. "Rose, Rose, wake up," he said, shaking her gently. Rose stirred and opened her eyes. "Wake up," he repeated. "Santa's come." Excited, Rose jumped out of bed. Daniel told her to be quiet and not waken their parents, and they hurried down the stairs. Rose ran into the sitting room. Her smile quickly faded when she saw a dirty old bag sitting where her presents should be. Turning to ask Daniel why there were no presents, she saw Johann sitting on the sofa. He didn't look happy at all. "Daniel?" she asked, confused. "Where are my presents?" "They're in that bag," he said, smile beaming from ear to ear. "No, they're not," Johann said, angry. "Don't listen to him. Go open your presents." Rose walked toward the bag slowly. She didn't want to open it, but she knew Daniel would make her pay if she didn't. She knelt down and reached for the bag. "Don't open it, Rose," Johann said regretfully. "Shut up, Johann." Daniel marched toward him, but Johann cowered into the sofa. As Rose sat watching him, Daniel turned on her. "Open it!" She reached out and opened the bag to look inside. "What is that?" she said, annoyed. Daniel laughed. "It's your Christmas present. You've been a bad girl this year, so Santa left you a bag of ashes." Johann sat on the sofa, infuriated with hate. "You're mean." Rose got up. "Where are you going?" "Back to bed, and I'm telling in the morning." Daniel pushed her back. "No, you're not. Go back over there and play with your present." Suddenly the door slammed shut and a cracking laughter rang out in the room. Eyes widened and they looked at each other. There were goosebumps rippling over their bodies. As the laughter stopped, Daniel reached for the door handle. It wouldn't open no matter how hard he pulled. There was another crackle of laughter. Rose ran to Johann and hugged him as Daniel looked at him questioningly. Johann had no answer. Suddenly the tree shook and the little bells on it jingled. Their eyes shot toward it. The laughter was coming from that direction. The tree shook again. The bells rang and the lights flickered. Johann looked at Daniel. He was terrified. Something jumped out of the tree and landed on the floor in front of the fireplace. It was about a foot tall and was dressed in a Santa suit. The red and white cloth stood out against its dull green skin. Its nose was long and pointy. The V-shaped mouth spread from cheek to cheek with needle-like teeth protruding. It smiled as it shifted its eyes over them. Rose squealed and hugged Johann tighter. Daniel reached for the door handle again, pulling furiously. It wouldn't budge. The laughter crackled again, recapturing their attention. "Ho, ho, ho," it said, with the slyest expression they'd ever seen. Johann and Daniel looked at each other. "Santa?" they said together. "Don't insult me, little boy," it hissed. "Now, give me the girl." "What?" Johann was horrified. He felt Rose turn her head to look at the thing. "You made her an offering to me," it said with pride. "Now, give her to me." Johann looked at Daniel. He was shaking. "Do something," he pleaded. Daniel turned toward him. He was more frightened than Johann had ever seen him. The creature started coming for Rose. She squealed and dug in deeper beside Johann. Instinctively, Daniel ran toward the thing and kicked out at it. It disappeared before Daniel's foot could connect. He couldn't believe what he'd done, but he was happy. Now the thing was gone. They jumped when it suddenly spoke from across the room. "You shouldn't have done that, little boy." It was standing on top of the bag of ashes. Daniel turned to run at it again, fear still shaking his body. Then he froze. The thing was starting to grow. It continued growing until it towered above them. Daniel cowered back onto the sofa beside Johann, with Rose in between them. The creature stared at them. Its eyes were clearer now, pale yellow, with two black vertical lines in each. 3 tiny golden hoops were attached to the ends of its pointy ears. Pale green skin covered fingers sharp as claws that reached out for Rose. Daniel tried to stop it, but it pushed him back, clawing at his face. It grabbed Rose and easily separated her from Johann's grasp, and they disappeared before there was a chance to help her. Daniel looked at Johann and burst into tears. Their sister had been kidnapped by a monster, and he knew it was his fault. Johann sat forward on the chair by the fire and refilled his glass. The whiskey tasted good tonight. It was the last time he'd ever tasted. Things always seemed sweeter that way. He threw another log on the fire, leaned back into the chair and thought of Daniel. They had never lived a proper life after the disappearance of Rose, and Christmas was non-existent. They knew the horror they had committed, but they believed it had ended with her, until Daniel disappeared. On Christmas morning 12 years ago, his wife had got up to discover a bag of ashes in the sitting room. Daniel was nowhere to be found. When they saw the word Rose carved into the coffee table, everyone believed he just took off, Rose's disappearance finally getting to him. Johann knew better. He drank the whiskey and watched as the fire consumed the fresh log. He wished things were different. Unknowingly, they had sentenced their sister to death before her life had even begun, and in doing so, they had condemned themselves. The bells in the tree jingled, and shivers rushed up Johann's spine. Terrified, he took another drink to avoid looking around. Johann, a voice spoke. It was a voice he hadn't heard in 24 years. He didn't want to turn around. Johann. He gulped the rest of his whiskey, sat forward and topped up the glass again. He took another drink before slowly turning around. Rose was standing there. She looked exactly like she had that night. Shivers encompassed his body as tears welled up in his eyes. Daniel was standing beside her. They looked at him with longing. They wanted to be reunited again. "Let's go," Rose said, smiling. "Do I have to?" They both nodded. Johann stood up, rocked the whiskey back and forth in the glass and downed it. He placed the glass beside the bottle and walked toward them. As he took their hands, he knew that in the morning his wife and children would wake up and come looking for him. All they would find would be a bag full of ashes. That's it, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you all have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks for listening so far on 2017. I hope you really enjoyed it. 2018 is going to be very interesting. Going to be a lot more content, a lot more guest readers. Any suggestions, comments or anything, just leave them below. My books Love's Curse and Strings are available on Amazon. I might be back next week. I'm not 100% sure. Next Tuesday is Boxing Day. It's a busy time of the year, so I might have a little special one before that. And if not, I'll see you all in 2018. Until then, AOI.